welcome to the Blessed Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raquel Thompson, and this podcast is to help you to transcend the mere hashtag of being blessed and to actually experience being blessed. Let me add my disclaimer. I'm not a prophet, preacher, or Bible scholar. However, I am a God-worshiping, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, New Thought Christian who believes that God blesses us according to our faith and how we work his principles. So if you're ready to be encouraged, enlightened, and entertained, you're in the right place. I am broadcasting on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. We're a nonprofit charitable radio broadcast with the mission to empower, encourage, and educate. If you are enjoying the Blessed Podcast, please donate at www.wytv7.org. Today's podcast is sponsored by Thompson's Publishing. We have a new book, Ren's Affirmations. God is good and so am I. Let me tell you, this is right on time for Easter. If you can pre-order between now and Friday, and you will get it for $10. And if you order $25 worth of books on at TolsonBooks.com, then you will get free shipping. So remember that. That'll be out. The book will be shipped out next week, right in time for Easter. All right, it's April, and we're talking about money. Now, I thought about maybe I shouldn't talk about money in light of the coronavirus and the quarantine, but you know, this is a good topic because we all need to figure out how we need to work our money in these difficult times, because some people aren't working, some people have, I have a tenant that they might not be working. So, there's a lot of stuff going on. So this is a great time to talk about money. And we're going to start out with my assistant minister of Understanding Principles for Better Living Church, Reverend Sheree Thompson. She's going to help us to get a money mindset. Okay? So if you're ready, y'all better buckle up because I know this is going to be good and you're going to need to listen to this a few times. Thank you, Reverend Sheree, for being here. Let me just give some more of your, let me see some more of your praises. You produce and spread joy through live stream events for a global nutrition company. I thought that was so cool. I love how you worded that. You are a life empowerment coach, a motivational speaker, a workshop facilitator, a podcast host, in addition to being the assistant minister and director of spiritual education at Up Church. You are also an author. Yay! And mother to a teenage son. Welcome to Blessed. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate the invite. I'm excited.
Yes, we got a lot to talk about and not a lot of time to do it. And we both can talk. So I'm going to try my best not to interrupt you a lot. This is what I do. I interrupt people because they say something and I got something to say it too.
All right,
sure.
Let's talk
about Lent. Because you have really blessed me over the past few years with your Lenten journeys. And this year I'm so excited because you wrote your own book for the Lenten journey, Break Every Chain and Be Free. Oh my gosh, when we talk about that, that's going to blow your mind, everybody. That is going to blow your mind. But can you please just share with everybody, what is Lenten journey? What is a Lenten journey? What is Lent about?
So for most traditional Christians, Lent is a church holiday. If you search in the Bible for Lent, you will not find it. It is a church holiday. It spans from what is that Wednesday? Ash Wednesday to Easter, right? And it's that span in between. And it's an opportunity for really consecration, for releasing and letting go. And so most people do something, they let go of like chocolate, or I'm not going to drink during Lent, or I give up meat during Lent. And so that's kind of like the way Lent works for most people. The circumstance presented itself, and I had this idea for a teleclass, and this is kind of before everybody was doing these things online, and we just talked about it. Reverend Della was our senior minister at the time, and we talked about it, but didn't really do anything about it. And an opportunity presented itself where I needed to teach intensely in a short span of time. And so we have a text that we've used in the past called Keep a True Lent. And it essentially birthed from there. And it turned into this magnificent experience where it's intense to be the leader of it, because it's every day in the word, every day focused on good, positive, spiritual ideas. And you're working with people who are doing the same thing. And so the consciousness that's built, the energy that comes from everybody collectively focusing on their desired good, or focusing on letting go of what doesn't serve them, is such a power. It's hard to explain. And until you, and like once you get into it a little bit and you're like, oh, like this is something else. It's like taking yourself to a spa and having an opportunity to just kind of be about yourself for whatever part of the day you choose to do that. Some people are very hardcore and they take every single assignment and they run with it. And some just dial into the call. They have a better prayer experience. But I really create an experience for you to have an intensive spiritual immersion experience.
Yes, you do. So let's talk about first, like the whole daily soul maintenance work, because I think that it's something that we should do all the time.
Yeah.
But during Lent, these 40 days, we really, really hamper down on our daily soul maintenance work. Can you explain to the listeners what that is about?
So the daily soul maintenance has evolved. This is our 8th year having Lenten experiences, my 8th time facilitating. And there's always the idea of having a prayer practice where there's just some moment of the day that you begin and set the tone for your day. And so the daily soul maintenance routine has developed over the years where it's not just about tuning in the top of the day. That if you want anything to run, I like to use our phones because, I got 2 phones sitting here with me. And we keep our phones charged up. So if your phone starts to go down in power, you plug back in. But with our own spirituality, we are out here dealing with what comes with the day, but we don't plug back in to power up. And so we are exhausted at the end of the day. We don't feel our best self. And so the daily soul maintenance routine is giving you an opportunity to plug in throughout the day. And it's also helping you to see that prayer is not just this wishful thing that you do so God knows you good, right? Like, oh, she prayed every day. The prayer is about changing you. Okay. And once you have made a declaration through prayer, we teach affirmative prayer. And so when you make a declaration, when you make an order to the universe, you should be expecting delivery. And so you want to go throughout the day with an attitude of expectancy so you don't miss your calling, you don't miss your assignment, you don't miss your next step, you don't miss your blessing. And so this practice keeps you plugged in throughout the day, and then you end the day. And I have this new term of ending a day like a hobo. We just jump in bed and go to bed, right? It's just like wherever I fall out. Well, I want you to stop being a hobo. Right? There's some beauty in actually having a nighttime routine. And I know that there's the beauty routine and things like that people will go through. But having a nighttime practice where you have an opportunity to release the day. So many of us wake up so tired because we never released yesterday and do that day after day. And you're just burdened. You come at your top of your day just not on 100%. So the evening rituals are about just releasing the day, blessing the day, naming it good, and just preparing yourself for newness, letting go of the old, preparing yourself for new. So, and forgiving, because who needs to carry a burden into your next day? And little slights over time build up this big, huge resentment ball that you'll be walking around with and not understanding why you're on edge all the time. So this daily maintenance helps us to stay tuned in and tuned up.
Yeah, I need to go back because I put a pin in it and we got to go back. The forgiveness every night. Oh my gosh, releasing people and situations, like you said, and even us for the bad choices we have made. Like I may have made a bad choice and ate 3 cookies today. I may have made a bad choice and ate 3 cookies. Well, at the end, I need to forgive myself for either I already ate them. Why am I still beat myself up because I ate them? I have eaten them. They were good. And I mean, because girls,
and you can't uneat them.
I can't uneat them.
You can't
uneat them. But, you know, and just at the end of the day, it's like, I forgive me for eating those 3 cookies. And I thank God that my metabolism is working where those 3 cookies are not going to put on any extra weight. That's a great way to go to bed and feel, and I can start the next day, you know, on top of it instead of beating myself up. I think that's like so vital. And I mean, I'm so glad you guys have brought that to us, because I never even thought about forgiving people, like even that it was that important to do that.
And forgiving yourself, like you said, because there's the regret that builds from unforgiveness and the shame that comes. And so you'll be thinking, why am I a little bit ashamed every time I eat something? And it's because you just, that's your habit. You don't even know that's your unconscious habit, is that with eating comes shame. And so there's no joy in your eating. And you can only get out of something what you put into it. And so if you're not at joy in your eating, then you won't be at joy in the way your body moves and the way that it digests. You just build up these barriers. And that's what my series is really about, are breaking those barriers that keep you from living your best life. And they're all within us. Like there's no barrier that keeping you from your highest good that you can't tear down. There's no bond, there's no chain that you can't break.
Let's talk about your book, Break Every Chain and Be Free. First of all, thank you for finally getting us a book, because we've been asking, I think, for the past 2 years. Wait.
I have to say this. I got it. So you sang my praises a little bit. Let me sing your praises, because the first thing Raquel said, it's hard enough, honestly. I tell you, it's a work to pull these things together every year. And in addition to, you name some of the stuff I'm doing, everything is always happening for me at one time. There's always a plethora of energy around all the things I'm excited about, because I told God I was ready I'm ready to be my best self. I'm ready to live my dream. And so the blessings have come in abundance. And so you said, you should write this book. And you were going on and you were so excited. And I was like, she just don't know what she's talking about. And she don't know who she's talking to. I ain't got time to write no book like this. But your encouragement, your constant encouragement was, I know, part of God calling me forward to another level. And so this year, and it has been an amazing journey, because I had a whole vision of how this was going to go. And I was going to hand everybody my book, and I was going to wave it in the air when we kicked off our day one. And all the little things that started to fall apart in terms of just getting it to look the way that I wanted it to look, because that was really important to me. And so I took another approach. And so the beauty is that I have this amazing ball of energy that's coming from you. You guys are helping me to be inspired to make the changes and shifts. And it's just going to be, it's better than I could have imagined it was going to be. And it's that collective consciousness of, yes, God, that is propelling it forward. And that's what I want. Like, it's not just for me. Everybody can get into that energy and propel themselves forward. It's amazing. And this intensive experience just charges you to be able to run.
Yes. And for everybody listening, you have to, it's almost over, but you have to get on this Lenten journey with us. And even if you have to like go back and do, you know, the rest of the days afterwards, because in the past couple of years, I know I have written a couple of books because of it. And we have a church member who has written a ton of songs, worship songs, because of it. I mean, we just have some really, really great energy and momentum from it. And that's why I wanted you to come on, because when we talk about money, it really starts with how we feel about ourselves, breaking chains, breaking negative, you know, thoughts and patterns and things like that. And because you can't make money when you tied to a lot of the past and tied to a lot of negative things. So like, just talk about real quick for me, if someone was telling you they needed to break the chain of lack or not having money, what would you say to them?
So the first thing in realizing that feeling lack and limitation, feeling like you want more, is actually a clue that you're in a box. You don't know, like if you're chained to something and you never pull at it, you don't know that you're chained. Right. You feel free. So when you feel the sense of like, I need something more, that's your clue that you're ready to grow, that there's something holding you back, because The movement forward is your natural state of being. And so the idea that you're meant to prosper comes from your spiritual identity, that you're born. I talk about our origin story a lot because we think that our origin began with our mom and dad, but we are really all spiritual beings. And so we're designed to expand like the nature of God is. Like we expand, and there's a flow to the way that we are in this world. We are meant to call forth what we desire and experience it because we're here to bring good to earth. We're here to bring good to life. And so if money is not even get into money, if your lack mentality is impeding your ability to bring good to life, and whether that good is a relationship that you enjoy, whether that good is being able to build business the way that you want, whatever that block is, that's what's unnatural. So when you feel the sense of I don't have enough money, you know behind that is a desire to grow and expand. And so your problem isn't a money problem. Your problem is a consciousness problem. Your problem is a space that you're holding on to. And that's what we're working on, not to dwell in the past and bemoan what we went through and beat ourselves up for what we've done, but it's to realize the belief system we created because of our experiences. And to begin to believe more in God, to believe more in the possibility of good. Because that is, when you think about what your inheritance is, it's all the potential of God. And you get to go create what you want out of all of that potential. And what I have done in my experience is I've taken all of that God potential and I have created tiny, tiny little bits for myself. And I'm not satisfied with those tiny little bits, but I didn't know that I was the one that went and pulled it. I didn't make a bigger order. Okay. My receptacle wasn't big enough to bring in what I wanted to bring. So I needed to go and look at that. Right. And it is important that you begin to look at yourself just for that purpose, to say, what is holding me back? What belief is holding me back? You talked about just the cookies. You know, I can talk about weight loss forever too. Talk about the cookies, right? And the idea that I am on a mission to live in the best body I've ever lived in. And I just tossed back 3 cookies before I could say my whole name, right? Like just, they went in that quick. But I said that I want to live in the best body that I have ever lived in. And I want to feel good in my body. And so why are my choices not in alignment with what I say that I want? And so I can begin to say, you know, it usually don't have to reach that far back. There's something that you held on to, that the food comforted you, and you mistook that Band-Aid for healing. And so instead of just knowing that the comfort foods around you were a Band-Aid, you began to seek healing through food. And so when we seek healing, and we do the same thing with our money, whenever it comes into our hands, we begin to treat it like who we are. So if we feel ourselves worthy, we treat it with value. And we look at our money differently, and how we exchange it is different. But if you feel like I'm not good with money, it's hard for me to hold on to money. I have to grind for this money. I need a job for this money. When all of those things are conditions that you place on the flow. And here is the thing, the conditions that you place are the experiences you must have. So you get to live by your own law. Okay. And if I say I want my life to be full of fun, joy, I want it to be grace and ease, then no matter what, I claim that in what I'm doing. Okay. I move through this world with grace and ease. There's no strife or strain involved. And I work very hard, but I do it with grace and ease.
Right. It's not a grind. You don't feel like you're waking up grinding and hustling. Yeah.
And if I do, I got to check myself.
Through the day.
Yeah. If I feel that way, I have to check myself, like, wait a minute. What's out of order? Something's out of order. And maybe you said yes to something that wasn't, you weren't supposed to say yes to. Maybe you have, you're just not resting properly. There's something out of order, but it's not that I'm not worthy. It's not that I am not built for more. That's not that I don't have a huge capacity to receive all the good desires of my heart. It's that there's something in my thinking that's out of order, and it's showing up in my behavior. And I make those adjustments.
Right. That was good. That was real good. See, this is why I go to church every Sunday, even if it's just virtually, like we've been doing for the past few weeks. I love virtual church. I love my Up Church family, because this is the kind of teaching that we get, y'all. I wanted to go back to something you were talking about, that about being good and designed to bring good into life, I think a lot of people's issues is not really feeling worthy to have. And especially when you look in certain communities and nobody around you has. And I can't even say it's a color thing or a race thing, because it's a poverty thing. If you grew up when nobody had anything, you feel like you're not supposed to have. And then we start even viewing people that do have as evil. And, you know, they got that money because they use people. I catch myself doing that, you know, because we do know that there are people that have a lot of money and they use people to get it and they do some dirty things, but that's not what money is about. But we put them together with that, and it just keeps us from, it really blocks money from us, because we in our thoughts, money is bad. Having a lot of money is bad, and so we block it.
Or it makes you do bad things.
Or right, because money makes you do bad things, and I don't want to do bad things, so I don't want to have it.
And it's hard to say. You think it's hard to get a lot of good clean money. You got to get a little dirty, you know. But you see, it's easy to say those things because they're just embedded within us. And so what's embedded in us, just because of that, when you grow up in an environment of people who are, like, if you look at an environment where people grow up in wealth, there's a different way that they navigate the world because of what was embedded in them. And there's no equal to it. There's not like everybody that grows up wealthy is wasteful, or everybody that grows up wealthy is evil or does bad things or manipulates people. There's no, but it's their interpretation of the world is different because of how they come in, right? And it's the same thing that you can have someone who grows up in utter poverty, who has a consciousness of wealth, who manages. Children do this. Like, I don't know if you know, just for your listeners out there, if you're someone who didn't grow up with a lot of money, at what point did you realize that you were poor? It's usually not when you're growing up. It's usually like somewhere down the line, right? And you're like, wait a minute, we were poor. Like, but I was so happy, and I was always supplied and fulfilled in what I wanted. And so I wasn't poor. I got everything I wanted. And something happened where I began to separate myself from the flow. It may be that I depended on my parents or whoever was giving me money and giving me stuff. Maybe I depended on them as my source, so I mistook them for my source as opposed to a channel. And that is a central reason for me, why many of us suffer, is just mistaking channels of supply for our source. And so if we lose a job, if we lose a job, or if a business deal falls through, or if there's a pandemic in the land, and we begin to say all my money sources have dried up. But no, there's just one source, and that source is never ending and unfailing.
Right.
And so if I recognize God as my source and these channels have dried up, I have the wisdom, because I also have an unending supply of wisdom of God, to look for a new channel, to open myself up for a new channel.
Yeah.
You know, one that's not impacted by this by a pandemic, by whatever is going on in your experience. Right. And that again, that choice is up to us. We get the freedom to choose. If we didn't want this freedom to choose, that brings us down to another state of being. We can be more animalistic, but we have the ability to choose.
Yes.
And so today you have to choose wealth, and then begin to build an interest in what it means to be wealthy. What would it feel like to be wealthy? Because I've had money before, and that money, I'm like, this is too much money in my hands. I'm going to do something stupid with it, or just the nervousness that comes because I don't trust myself with this money. And so I'm going to find a way to mess it up. It's inevitable that money will slip through my hands. And I will prove myself to be right, which is that I am unworthy of having this money substance. Right. And so if you begin with your origin story, that there is nothing wrong with you. And this may hit on some of the bedrock of what you grew up on, this idea that you're the worm of the dust. You are made in the image likeness of God. And when you realize that and recognize that, and then begin to ponder, what does it mean to be made in the image likeness of God? Can I say that anything that's true of God is reflected in me? If I can begin to answer those questions for myself, I can pick myself up out of the poverty mindset and begin to feel more like who I really am, which is abundantly supplied.
You know what? We got to get ready to go, but you said something, and I have to share this, because in the new book, Ren's Affirmation, there is a God is power, I am power. And it says, I have the power to make my dreams come true. And it's little Lorraine selling lemonade. And I thought that was because when you think of power, most people don't think about it in that way. But that's what it's like. We have the power to make our dreams come true. We have the power to make our lives the way we want to. And there's different avenues and different ways that we would be motivated by God to do. But that is how we can bring our good into expression, because we have the power to do that. We only have a few minutes. Please, please, please let everybody know where they can find you, other than at Understanding Principles for Better Living Church in Inglewood, California. Amen. Where can they find you online?
So you can find me at, Break Every Chain and Be Free. That, I don't even know if that site is up yet. I think I took it down when the book got on delay. But you can always find me at ShereeSpeaks.com. And I'm on all the social channels. Instagram, I'm Rev Sheree Speaks. On Facebook, I'm just facebook.com/Sheree. And Sheree Speaks is out there as well. And I also have a podcast that I co-host with a good friend of mine, Rev Ree and Reese, called Motherwit. And we talk about just motherhood and what it's like to be moms and navigate the world through the lens of a parent. It's been really fun. We have a lot of fun. But yeah, you can definitely find me on those outlets. Or reach out to Raquel. She knows how to find me.
Yes, and you can find me at www.raqueltolson.com. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody has learned something. Whatever you do, you're going to have to get a hold to break every chain and be free, because all of us got chains. All of us got chains. I don't even want to go into the historical chains that we bound to if you have a brown skin color. I'm just saying there's some chains that we got to break. And if you lived in poverty, it's some chains you got to break. If you got some crazy eating habits, it's some chains you got to break. It's just all of us got chains that we got to break, and we got to be free. We were created to be free.
Yes.
And so we have to break those chains. And it's like you may break one chain and then you realize you got another one. You got another one, and then you can realize you got another one. But that's what I love this so much, because it's just like, wow. You just bringing up stuff that it's like, oh my gosh, it's just so much I could tell y'all about this, but you gotta hear for yourself. You gotta get a part of the Lent program. They can go to upchurch.org, right?
They can go to upchurch.org and register. And I'll be running these programs probably throughout the year as well, just for people who are, when the book is published, and just for people to come join in, because it is a 40-day experience. It's a spiritual soul immersion. So 40 days working with yourself, working with God, getting to play in the land of God for 40 days. It's healing. It's so healing.
Yes, it is. And I got a couple more weeks to go. And I'm excited about everything God is doing in my life, because I am breaking every chain and I'm being free.
Yes.
Y'all, we gotta go. I'm sorry. That's all the time we got. But I promise y'all, next year we're gonna be coming back with the next Lenten program and all that stuff. We gonna every April, I just feel like Reverend Sheree is gonna be on here telling us about how we can better strengthen our spiritual self through the Lenten process. Until next week, be blessed. And remember, what God has done for others, He will do the same thing for you. See you next week.
Thank you.